everybody. Welcome, and let's celebrate together or learn together.
We have transitioned from an economy based on debt to an economy based on revenue. That is the kind of country and that is the kind of sure footing that we are looking at. Nimesema ya kwamba neno la Mungu linatufundisha ya kwamba a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. It means a not so good man leaves debts to his as an inheritance to his children. We do not want to be bad people. We want to leave an inheritance for our children by building our country not on debt but on our taxes. Na nataka niwashukuru wa Kenya wengi ambao wanalipa ushuru, hasa wale wa Kenya wa kiwango ya chini. Wote wanalipa ushuru bila kukwepa. Na mimi nataka niwahakikishie wale wengine wote, wawe ni wakubwa, wawe wanajulikana, wawe ni waheshimiwa, wawe ni wastahiki, wawe ni ma-excellency, wote pia watalipa ushuru. Ndio kila Mkenya tuweze kujenga taifa letu katika msingi sawa sawa ya kuhakikisha kwamba we can defend our independence by making sure that we build our country and we run our development and we run our economy on the basis of our own taxes and revenues that are raised by the people of Kenya.
Msicheze na moto. Si mumecheza na moto na mumeumia? Si mumecheza na moto na mumeumia? Munataka kurudi kwa moto ama munataka kuokoka? Munataka kuokoka? Njia ya kuokoka ni Baba. Nawaambia. Njia ya kuokoka ni nini? Njia ya kuokoka ni nini? Afadhali mzee ambaye ni mtulivu, ambaye hana haja ya kujaza mifuko yake, ambaye atachunga masilahi ya watu yake, badala ya mdomo tamtamu 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 tamtamu. Lakini akiingia ni wale wa kufanya moja yako, nusu ya mwananchi, mbili yako na tano yangu.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. Thank you so much. It is time for us to reflect as Kenyans as we celebrate our new year and take full responsibility. Hapo kuna Rais William Ruto na Rais Uhuru Kenyatta wakituambia yao kuhusu nchi yetu ya Kenya. Haya, ni kama unabii unatimia. Huyu Mungu wa ajabu sana. Haya, tuanze na Bwana Wangira. Happy New Year to you.
Oh, Happy New Year. Happy New Year to my sister Rhoda.
Happy New Year too, Brother Wagira.
Thank you. Oh, Bernard, yesterday I told you that I listened to the speech. You know, I rarely listen to our president since the 15th of September, the 13th of September, sorry, but yesterday I decided to listen to his speech because, you know, I wanted to pick one or two things from his speech. And, you know, I concluded his speech in one word, and I used that word here yesterday. The word was quinini, if you remember. And, you know, I'm being vindicated that, you know, my observation was correct, that, you know, President William Samoei Ruto promised the people of Kenya some sweets, but now instead he's now giving them quinini, Bernard. Bernard, taxes, I always compare taxes to a cow, Bernard. You know, taxes must be consumer, you must always compare taxes to the level of production of a country, Bernard, because there is a level beyond which you cannot tax. For example, if you have one cow that gives you, you remember our local cows in the village, those indigenous ones. I'm not talking about the Muzungu one, the indigenous ones. And you remember there used to be that the treetop bottle. You remember the treetop bottle? If you remember the treetop bottle, you remember in the village you used to be told that this cow can only give you 2 bottles of treetop per day. So if that cow can give you 2 bottles of treatment per day, Bernard, there is no way you can force this cow to give you 4 bottles of treatment because its capacity it's 2 bottles of treatment. And that's where we are in Kenya, Bernard, because we are in a scenario where no matter how much you want to tax us as the people of Kenya, you know, there is there's a maximum to which you can go, Bernard. Unless he's planning to milk us the way some people say that you are trying to milk a stone. Unless William Samoei Ruto is trying to milk a stone and hoping that he's going to get milk out of the stone, Bernard. Some of his proposals, Bernard, are not workable, Bernard. Already we have high rate of inflation in this country. Our inflation is high. Uh, our Kenyan shilling is a weekend shilling. Uh, I remember when I started operating a dollar account in a local bank, I think 7 years ago, Bernard, the dollar was 95, 99, and the most it ever went to perhaps 105. Today, the dollar is trading at 123, 125 shillings, Bernard. So that means that the Kenya shillings is weakened. And Bernard, we are talking of high inflation, a weakened shilling. And despite all that, we still see what we call physical indiscipline, where you just want to spend what you don't want, you don't want to what you don't have. People still want to live beyond their means. Appointing more people than are required in public service. You remember William Samoei Ruto was supposed to have even appointed what we call the cabinet administrative secretaries. It's only the court that stopped it because the matter is still in court, the case. But he could have appointed some people to the cabinet administrative secretaries, Bernard. Bernard, back to taxation, Bernard. We must agree that in this country, majority of people are poor and what we call in economics underemployed, which means an underemployed person, is a person who is not getting what he deserves to get. For example, what people earn, where we are told that majority of Kenyans earn below $2 a day, when they're supposed to be earning much more than that, Bernard. That tells you that their level of income are so low, Bernard. And in such a circumstance, Bernard, you are telling Kenyans that you want to do what we call to expand what we call the tax base, Bernard. How will you expand a tax base in such a scenario where majority of Kenyans are either unemployed or underemployed, where their incomes are low, or majority of them don't even have an income at all, and you are telling them that you are going to expand the tax base, Bernard? I don't understand how that one will work in this particular circumstance, Bernard. Bernard, the white man, the colonial, the Muzungu, the white man introduced in Africa something that was called the heart tax. Ile ushuru ya kale kanyumba kadogo, if you remember, the heart tax. And the Muzungu was doing nothing for the benefit of the African. But for every small heart that existed, in the compound, Bernard, there was some tax that was supposed to be paid to that hut. And that's why the reason why it's called the hut tax. And this tax was paid in this form. You would either pay it in form of money. If you didn't have money, you would pay it in form of labor, or you could even pay it in form of grain, maize or millet, or in form of livestock. Bernard, are we returning to that era of hard tax, Bernard, where the government wants us to pay tax irrespective of whether we can afford to pay tax or we cannot afford to pay tax, Bernard? Those are some of the questions that we must ask ourselves, Bernard. And that's why today I was reading a piece in the weekly review of this week. There's a weekly review, it's always sent on email, and they're asking whether this government wants to task the people of Kenya to the bone. Are they planning to task us to the bone? That's the question we are asking. Because, if you have taxed the flesh, you have taxed the blood. So what else is there that is remaining that you need to task, Bernard? So we are really living in very, 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 very hard times, Bernard. We were promised manna by William Samoei Ruto, Bernard, but the manna doesn't seem to be getting to be falling now. And because manna does not seem to be falling, Bernard, the guy has decided to make life hard for the people of Kenya. Because what William Samoei Ruto should have done, he should have told us how he was going to increase investment and create more jobs. Because what the people of Kenya need is investment. If you have more investments, that will mean that we'll have more jobs. And if we have more jobs, Bernard, then there will be more taxes paid. You can only widen the tax base, Bernard, if you have many people working. But in Kenya, majority of people are not working. They don't have an income at all at all. So if they don't have an income at all, how are you going to increase that tax base, Bernard? And you're telling them that no, subsidy is bad. You're telling them subsidy is bad, and so that they go into production, and you're not showing them how they are going to get into production. Bernard, there's no lazy Kenyan in this country. That one I know there are people in the West that we can call lazy, but Africans are generally not lazy people. They lack opportunities, Bernard. In Kenya, majority of the young people who are employed, Bernard, are guys who don't have opportunities of where they can work. If they will be given an opportunity, even tomorrow, Bernard, they will become productive. And that's what we are saying. William Samoei Ruto should create an environment that will be conducive for investment. And immediately there will be investments, Bernard, then there will be more jobs created. But we don't see that environment so far. But what we are hearing from him, Bernard, is him telling us, Bernard, that we need to pay more taxes. For example, he has used an analogy in the Bible that, a good man leaves an inheritance to his family, Bernard. Leaving an inheritance to your family is a good thing, Bernard. But in the Kenyan circumstance, Bernard, how possible is it even for you to think that you can leave an inheritance to your family? If your country if your country makes you unproductive, then how do you end up leaving an inheritance to your family? Kenya has made majority of Kenyans unproductive because the environment is not conducive for them to be productive in any manner and in any way, Bernard. And majority of the businesses people of Kenya do, Bernard, don't give them more than 500 shillings in a day. Then how would they afford to even leave an inheritance to their family? Perhaps the best they can do is to see that they struggle and see their kids go to school to a particular level of education, Bernard. So we are headed to hard times, Bernard. And we are headed to hard times. And we are headed to hard times, Bernard, because we are seeing this government continuing to borrow. William Samoei Ruto, in the last 3 months, he has continued to borrow. And we are being told that when your physical deficit is below what they say 5%, is above what they say 5% of the GDP, then you have a problem. You see, like what is happening in Ghana. Ghana, because of the way they misbehaved physically, Bernard, you know, they are. Hello?
Yes, yes, bwana Wangira, summarize. Unajua ni opening statement. Wewe unapeana speech yote.
Okay. So I was saying, let me just finish in one word, that if we are not very careful, Bernard, as a country, we are likely, two things are likely to happen. We'll not be able to pay our national debt. Then we'll get into where Ghana and Zambia are. Secondly, the hole in which we are will keep on becoming deeper, which means majority of Kenyans will become poorer because there will be no opportunities for them. And if that one continues, Bernard, then there won't be a country for anybody to run, Bernard. Let me just leave it at that and allow somebody else to come in. Thank you.
Okay, thank you bwana Wangira, tunashukuru kwa mtangulizi huu. Tunashukuru tena kila mmoja anayejumuika nasi katika Mtembei TV Open Forum Political Discussion Show. Na kuomba tu tafadhali endelea kukaribisha wawili watatu ili wote tukamakinike pamoja tunapojadili masuala yetu. Kuna kitu rais amesema kwamba anataka economy ambayo inategemea taxes na sio economy inayotegemea madeni. Mimi sijui economy inayotegemea taxes kwa sababu na kulingana na mimi mtu akishakuwa rais astahili kusema uongo haswa kwa wananchi wa Kenya. Okay? What is this economy that depends on taxes? Economy depends on production or it depends on taxes? Where will the wananchi be taking the taxes that you want to take from them by all means? I mean, is this a government that sustained itself by using the blood of Kenyans? Or is a government that takes responsibility of, like Mr. Wangira said, feeding the cow so that the cow can provide the milk? You are running away from the responsibility of making the cow get the grass, get the water, get vaccinated, and probably, get well fed so that it's able to produce the milk. Yet, you want to continue taking the milk. Is that how a government is run? Dr. William Ruto disappoints, to say the least. This is, hey, Mungu saidia Kenya. Sister Rhoda, karibu.
Asante sana. Happy New Year, everyone. Brother Bernard, Brother Chaka. Ay, umepotea. Chaka. Habari zako huko ni pwani na Mike na baga. I sometimes when I see how Ruto is speaking, my heart feel crying. Yani ati watu walipe taxi. Ingekuwa si pesa zinakopwa ni nani angejeka hiyo mabarabara zote tunaona? Pesa za taxi zinaweza jeka hizo mabarabara zote tunaona Kenya Express nini, kujengea mapolisi nini. Taxi ya watu Kenya haiwezi tosha kwa sababu kuna watu wengine wafanye kazi kama wazee. Sasa mtu mzee ana pesa za kulipa tax haki. Unajua kama nikikompare Kenya na maiti zile development kama European Union. European Union wanakuanga na development their country kwa sababu wanalipa tax. Kwa sababu nayo serikali imejenga nchi zao miaka mingi sana. Wako na guarantee that wewe hata ukisoma unapata kazi. Mtu young akona guarantee kuna ma-industry. Serikali imejenga ma-industry mob. Watu wanafanya kazi za kutengeneza makaratasi, kutengeneza nini, kuwa wanachukua hizi takataka. Watu wengine wanafanya makazi ya kuosha nini. Sasa hizo mshahara unalipa inaenda tax, na hiyo tax pesa zinaenda kwa hospitali, zinaenda kwa watu wale waziwezi, kwa watu wale wagonjwa, kwa watu wale watu wale wagonjwa kama hospital. Ukienda hospital hata ukiwa unalipa pesa at least unalipa pesa dogo ukiwa ujiwezi na umepata for example hata tax inaweza kuchukua pahali huko, kwa sababu pesa za taxi hata ukiwa utalipa next month, wakatumia bill ulipe next month ukiwa uweze afford. At least hawezi lipa pesa mingi, hawezi kufia kwa nyumba kwa sababu hiyo taxi imelipwa na watu, uko na guarantee. Unaona, na ndio maana serikali za hizo development wanakuanga wanapatia watu young more chance to get job, wanaambia watu young waende shule, at least walani, yani hata ikiwa ni it doesn't matter which kind of unataka kazi ya mekanika huku Europe mtu anasomea kazi ya mechanic, makazi yote unaweza somea under nurse, every kazi pesa ile mshahara unalipa inaenda kwa taxi, na hiyo taxi unajua inatengeneza mabarabara nini, uko na guarantee. Hata ukizaa mtoto unajua huyo mtoto atapata job kwa sababu uko na guarantee, akisoma atapata. Lakini Kenya hakuna hope. Watu wazee wanalipa ni taxi imetoka wapi? Wale wametoka huko vijiji. Saa zingine mimi naona William Ruto anaongea kama mtu hajazaliwa Kenya, na ni mtu amesema amezaliwa kijiji, ni mtu he needs to have a lot of knowledge. Kwa sababu wanalipa taxi watu wazee kutoka wapi? Saa zingine we have to have a common sense. Yani afikiri, saa zingine William Ruto akiongea, mimi nasikia my headache, so confused, I feel depressed. Anapeleka nchi wapi? Kwa nini aliingia hiyo kiti ya rais akijua ajui what is the work of the president? Ikiwa hataki president, tugane nchi. Nchi kwa ina serikali, tugane. Mtu tukae tu na serikali, tukae hivyo tu. Kwa sababu anatesa watu. Na ni must ndio maana we need to loan money. We cannot live a country loan money because we need to invest. Ama alete watu wanakuja wanainvest kwetu, wanalete kama tuseme kama McDonald. Unajua mwenye McDonald kutoka America analete hiyo McDonald Kenya, watu wanapata makazi. Hiyo ndio mtu anafungua nchi yake, watu wanakuja kuinvest nchi yake. That is wako. Ndio maana unaona maji kama Nigeria have been very developed. Nigeria amefungulia ma China kukuja kufanya mabiashara huko, kutengeneza mabarabara. Ukile Chinese nchi ya Nigeria is the richest country whole Africa. Hata nchi zinaona kama Libya wamefungua ma contract na watu wa nje, Japan wanakuja kufanya mabiashara huko, watu yangu wanapata kazi ya kutengeneza mabarabara. Unaona, hiyo ndio economy ina grow. Lakini akisema hatuwezi kopa, kama mtu ule anakaa kijiji, mzee ako na 80 years, anawezaje toa tax? Saa zingine William Ruto he doesn't think, yani anafikiri, yani he think like a European, anafikiri kama watu wa West. Unajua watu wa West ndio wanafikirianga, yeye afikiri hata wako best, kwa sababu hata wao they are more humble themselves. Sasa zingine tunaona watu wa Western ni wajinga. Sasa wako very smart kwa sababu they are very very humble themselves. Wakiwa nchi zao wanakuwa very humble sana kwa sababu wanajua hata kuweka food kwa table is a miracle. Hata Western kuweka food in the table is a miracle. Is a miracle kwa sababu chakula is very expensive. Is a miracle. Hata kulipa nyumba is a miracle. They used to pray and to humble them. Lakini watu wako Kenya wanafikiri Western ni nini? Wao bangi, wao wako na nini? Wako na magold nini? Pia wanapiga magoti. Sisi tukipiga magoti Afrika, hata wanapiga magoti kuona chakula, even a single day wanaomba Mungu kuwapatia nchi free na freedom. Hiyo watu wa Western wanakuanga naomba, lakini Kenya tunanga hizo. Siku ile Mungu atatufungua macho ya nje na tufungue maroho yetu, tunaweza enda mbele sana nchi yetu. Lakini tukiwa na watu kama Ruto, wale wanajifanya hivi, ajui mambo, ajui nini, hatuwezi endelea. Ajui pale tuko, ajui ni wapi, ajui ni nini, anajifanya yeye ati ni kama kiwete. Si he need to be good example for Kenya. He need to give hope. Na alikataa wale walikuwa nataka kutupatia hope kama Raila, akakatina na akaiba kura zetu. Watu wale walikuwa natupatia hope. Sasa napatia watu wa Kenya oppression, depression, worried. hata watu wengine Kenya utakuwa a lot of suicide. Watu watajua Kenya kwa sababu huo mtu atataka watu wajue. That's the way he wants. We will have experience out of suicide because you cannot live a country under oppression, under pressure, poverty. He doesn't want Kenyan people to be, Kenya, it was like almost like Europe. It was going very far. We could go very far. Lakini tuko na watu, mimi niongea na politician huku Europe, akaniambia the problem you have in Africa, in your country where you come from, you have the leadership that doesn't think from here. If you have the leadership can think, you can go very far in your country. I talk with the politicians some month ago. Wanaona, hata Einstein wanaona.
Rhoda, conclude. Thank you. Sorry. Okay, Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you so much for joining us in our discussion. We are looking at the new year 2023 and analyzing the president's attitude and speech. From where I see it, the president is supposed to be truthful, especially with his people, the Kenya and the state of affairs. Why is the president talking about an economy that's driven by taxes? Where is that economy in the world that's driven by taxes? Which country is operating like that? Is it first world or second world? An economy driven by taxes. And he's saying that with a straight face. I mean, lies can be excused, but not from national leaders, not in the status of a president. So why is President Ruto thinking that Kenyans are so foolish that he can twist around words and get away with it? He has done zero on production, zero on job creation, zero on helping the Kenyan cope with life. And then he says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Which inheritance is William Ruto leaving for Kenyans? Since he has assumed office, what one item is on the table of a Kenyan courtesy of William Ruto? Misusing the scripture, misusing the constitution, misusing the presidency. That is why we need to kick him out of office. And so Kenyans, wake up. Mimi niko tu hapa na one clarion call. If the man is not fit for the office, let the man vacate office. Hiyo mchezo we cannot tolerate it anymore. And so as many as seek the welfare of this country and want this welfare, Kibaki took over a negative economy 2002. He never talked about Moi. He never talked about how bad the economy was. He took responsibility. First day in office, free primary education without even counting how many primary schools we have, how many people can go to class. They went to school and he shouldered that responsibility. Leadership is taking responsibility. It's not running away from responsibility. William Ruto has run away from petrol subsidy. He has run away from education subsidy. He has run away from taking care of the vulnerable, the elderly, the people who can no longer go to work. They are retired. They are in their wee hours of their life. He still cannot take care of them. And then you want him to take care of the country. Kenyans, able to go serious. Let's get serious for once. Hii mambo hayakai vizuri, na kama muoni hayakai vizuri, tafadhali tuamke mapema. Tuamke mapema kabisa. Inji kule inaelekea, leo ni siku ya kwanza ya mwaka huu. Sioni tukitoboa tukienda hivi. Inji sio chukulikia wazee. Anasema a good man leaves an inheritance. Wacha nimtafutie scripture ingine imsaidie, okay? Kwa sababu yeye ndo alianza maneno ya scripture, wacha nimpatie scripture. Scripture inasema hivi, mtu yeyote asiyetunza wakwao, okay? Asiyetunza wakwao, that is halishi familia yake, hatunzi mke wake na watoto. Biblia inasema amekaa na imani, okay? Nako is worse off than an unbeliever. So yeye ndo alianza story ya Bwana asifiwe, ameokoka. Amesema a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. But you who is supposed to take care of the food of Kenyans, the health of Kenyans, the education of Kenyans, the prosperity of Kenyans, you have run away from all that responsibility. You are not the Christian that the Bible calls a Christian. He says, if you are not taking care of your own, you have denied the faith, you are worse than an infidel. That's how the Bible describes you. So, Mr. President, are you worse than an infidel? Then you cannot leave an inheritance behind, because if you don't feed your family, they will all die. So who will you be leaving an inheritance for? Haya, Bwana Mike, vipi lakini? Naona Bwana Mike, inaonekana unanipata au unipata? Okay, samahani, it seems Mike is not getting me or something. You unmute Mike. I want to be sure you are able to communicate. You need to get rid of those your earphones. We are not getting anything you're saying. Unmute kwanza. We can't get you. Please sort out that your sound problem. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want to bring you up to speed. Those of you that can remember Katwe, yesterday we were raising some funds to help out with the burial of their daughter who passed away in a road accident. We did well, but there is still a deficit, which I want to urge to as many as can chip in, please to do so. We are short of around 20K from the information I'm being given by the family. There is a need of about 20K to help out in the burial. Whatever we raised yesterday got to around 30K. They need 50K to be able to offset the bills. I mean, the mortuary bills and all that, and then be able to conduct the burial. Of course, the burial place is at Klangata, and of course, it is paid for. And so I just want to share that number again. And please let us be generous and be able to help out our brother. You all know Katwe. Katwe is one of our main resource people here. He has played a very major role, especially towards the elections, in giving us updates on matters, economy matters, Kisi politics, and all that. Nobody, I mean, when we are at our weakest point, we need everybody's support. And so I just want to call on upon us again as Mutembei family. Let's step in strong and be able to help them out, send off their daughter early tomorrow morning, if we are able to meet that bill. And so yesterday we were able to realize some amount plus what the family had realized, and just consulted and got the information that they have a deficit of 20,000 Kenya shillings only. So hiyo 20 tunaweza kupata kwa hii kipindi. Tafadhali tutume kwa hii namba, alafu tusonge mbele na kipindi chetu. Katwe is one of us, wale ambao mnamkumbuka, na as soon as he's through with this, he will be back so that he appreciates you by himself. There was a road accident on the 26th of December along Nakuru Highway. That is where the daughter got injured plus the mother, and the daughter succumbed, but the mother is still on medication at St. Mary's, Langata. But the burial for the daughter is scheduled tomorrow morning on the 2nd of January. Tunahitaji hiyo 20K ili tuongezee kwa ile pesa iko, ili tumalizane na hii maneno by kesho asubuhi. Tafadhali tutumie hiyo namba tukiendelea na mjadala wetu. Asante sana. Okay. Hey, Bwana Mike, I hope you are now sorted. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. You can hear me now.
Yes, we can hear you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Bernard and Wangira and Rhoda. We are optimistic people. Kenya has once been voted as one of the most optimistic people in the world, despite every challenge and every other obstacles that comes their way, natural and man-made. We have a man-made obstacle in the form of the current government, but as Kenyans, we know we shall also overcome this. Bernard, 2020, 2021 were tough years, and 2022. Of course, we are aware there was COVID, and Kenya has also been going through a drought. And the climax of it, Bernard, was the the Ukraine war, which now added the fuel problem that is almost causing a global recession to the whole world. But Bernard, we were told last year that by the people campaigning that all these things were excuses, and that the economy was sound. The war in Ukraine had nothing to do with our fuel prices. That drought had nothing to do with the cost of unga being up, and that COVID had nothing to do with the economy slamming down. And we were given certain promises that a new government would turn around things, and the timelines that were given were actually very specific. We were told between 1 month and 100 days, very many things would happen to turn around the economy. So these things that Kenyans are looking up to and assessing this government as we cross over the year are not based on Kenyans' expectations. They are based on promises that were made. Some of us knew that the economy was hard and certain things would take time to turn around, but we were told no. Unga will move from 200 to 70 shillings in 2 days. From the day the president puts down the Bible, Unga will go down to 70. So those are not the demands of Kenyans. Those are promises made, and Kenyans are just asking a decent and a honorable person who lives by his word, who is a Christian and who is a person of integrity, to live up to their word. We were told that fuel prices were up not because of Ukraine war. We were told that there were cartels that had even bought some petrol stations, and they were controlling the fuel prices in Kenya. And we were told immediately the government comes in, the fuel prices will come down. So the question I'd be asking Bernard is, has this government also gotten into those cartels that fuel can only be reduced by a shilling or 50 cents after every month? Because we were told that fuel prices in Kenya are up because of cartels and not because of the happenings in the global field. Uh, subsidies, Bernard, are short-term interventions, and you can, using an analogy, you can equate subsidies to oxygen to somebody who is in ICU. Oxygen is not a treatment, but it's an intervention to keep somebody alive, to keep somebody's heart alive to breathe as they work on treating that person. So when you remove subsidies is to somebody at that low level, the people we were told are to be catered for, the mama boga, you are basically removing oxygen and telling them you are looking for medicine to treat them after 3 months. That would be, you will be treating a dead person, and there is no known medicine, Bernard, since creation of medicine, that has cured a dead person. You cannot provide malaria queen or Panadol to a dead person. You can only give that to somebody who is alive. So the subsidies that are being removed are going to take people to their financial grave, and whatever treatment that you'll provide thereafter will be useless because you cannot treat a dead person. So the subsidies that are being removed in the name of restructuring the government is basically to kill people and allow those who need to live. And that's why I like the way you've called it an elitist government, because there are people who will survive because those are not people who are poor. But the poor people that were being lied to that they will be taken care of are actually the ones going to suffer, because these are people living from hand to mouth. When you increase school fees by 10,000 to people who are already struggling to even pay the current fee structure, you are actually sending some of these parents to depression. And as Rhoda said, some of these people are going to commit suicide because you are taking them from their sick bed to their grave, literally. And that is the reality that is checking in now. And it's a very unfortunate situation, Bernard, because every promise that was made, and that we are now being told that government is going to make difficult and tough choices uh, if it has to make this country move forward. So basically, what we are being told, Bernard, is that the promises and the commitments and the charters that were being signed were purely populist, were for political expediency, and were for the cameras and for getting votes. But the reality is that none of those promises that these people made uh, were true, and they didn't mean any word from everything they said about putting down their Bible and fulfilling most or even one of the promises they made. So Bernard, in terms of character, it has come out that these are people you cannot take them by their word. What they say is not what they mean, and any other promise in future, Bernard, will be like the same. But this is not a surprise to us, Bernard. Those of us who have a knowledge of the people sitting in government now know that they made many promises and similar promises in the previous regime, of stadiums, of free Wi-Fi, and very many fancy things. None of them was fulfilled. So some of us are not surprised, but we are just sympathizing for the rest of the Kenyans because we knew this was going to happen. Uh, People's character do not change much, Bernard. They only change the approach, but the character, the core character of somebody remains the same. And this is what is now showing. I will leave at that, Bernard, and I wish you and everybody else a happy new year. Let's stay optimistic in spite of every other challenge that is facing us.
Asante bwana Mike, tunashukuru kwa mchango wako, maoni yako, wasia wako kwa Wakenya. Remaining optimistic by setting up or alternative means of survival, because if we are looking up to Kenya Kwanza to help us get where we are, where they have got us into, I think we'll be over expectant in my opinion. If Leo here has given something, na Leo mbona ukuje studio, hebu njo asema Ruto removed subsidies but still borrowed 1 trillion within 3 months, something that has never been had in 10 years of Huru's regime. He borrowed 6.7 trillion, and this was amidst of COVID-19 and war in the Ukraine, which forced this government to give subsidies on various commodities as well as tax relief. At one point, social protection programs like Linda Mama, Pesa kwa Wazee, as well as Kazi Mtaani were introduced during his term, not to forget Kenya, that Kenya witnessed. Now, this optimism is based on hoping that some miracle will take place, or we should be optimistic in the sense that there will be a supernatural intervention. Mungu atashuka abadilishe mambo tu kwa Wakenya. Hii serikali inakaaje? Haipeani tumaini. Every decision they have made so far, none of it is towards the welfare of mwananchi. It's everything to do with themselves getting breathing space by squeezing the little space that Kenyans had previously. And so help us focus this optimism you're asking us to to be when everything looks hopeless.
Bernard, our optimism is based on the fact that Kenya Kenya as a country, we are a democracy that has alternative voices and alternative governments. That when a government, Bernard, you saw in UK, in 1 year we had 3 prime ministers. Basically, it means that when one is not able to fulfill their mandate, the optimism is that there's always somebody else who can come and fill in that space. And my optimism is based on the fact that we have alternative voices, and the space for democracy is not controlled by government. It is controlled by us ourselves. We don't allow people to push us on the wall, and that's why we are here actually speaking freely about what is ailing us. It cannot happen in some of the other countries, like even our neighboring here. And as we have this discussion, our optimism is driven from the knowledge that Kenyans who know what they want will not let this country go down to the dogs. We shall mobilize ourselves and with our leaders, because we have leaders who still believe that Kenya can be better than what it is. And the voices that are going to come up as we start the year will give us direction, Bernard, on what we need to do. One of the things that we shall need to do is to clearly state to the public the record of the performance of this government in the next few coming days. And it will show that this government has done 20%. And 20% is actually appointing people of UDA to government and creating offices that they say they would never create, like prime minister, and asking the parliament to set up office of opposition, which they fought very much against. So my optimism, Bernard, is purely based on the fact that we have alternative voices. We have space to get back Kenya. The constitution told us that power belongs to the people, and our optimism is that that space has not been closed. We can always get back our power if it is not working well for us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bwana Mike, for that. I appreciate that Kenyans don't disappoint, and it's good for us to have faith in ourselves as the Kenyan people, and a good way to look at it. Naomba nishughulikie maswala mawili on the comment section. Swala la kwanza, Bernard, I'm trying to contribute towards the funeral. New here, don't know where Katwe resides, because I need to fill city town on the M-Pesa bit. Okay. Okay, is in Nairobi. Is in Nairobi. No, I don't know. Migi, I don't know how to help you. Okay, you need his box number or something like that. If that is the case, itakuwa ngori. Lakini he resides in Nairobi, Kabete Estate. That's all the information we have. If you need more details, naomba ukuje studio kwa private chat, then we can exchange WhatsApp number, and then probably we share more details. Otherwise, asante sana for that whatever generosity towards that particular assignment. And Maina, you are the reason why I want to address you specifically. Okay. You say, Bernard, you're a biggest hypocrite. I even wonder how you became a preacher. You are the same person who was cheering and praising the previous regime, which messed up our economy. Wajinga walisha Kenya bure kabisa. Anna Maina, you are being stupid and you know it. The deputy president of the previous government was one William Ruto, sitting in the cabinet, presiding over the falling apart of the economy. You need to address him, not me. If the decisions were being taken in the cabinet about the economy, and your president, who is now your president, who was deputy president then, did nothing in correcting the economy, and then you come here asking me how I became a preacher. I became a preacher because you needed a preacher like me to tell you the truth, not the hypocrites that you dance around confirming that you are okay when you are actually not. So Anne Maina, style up. Style up. Put the blame where it belongs. Wajinga walisha Kenya na inaonekana wewe unataka
Aina
kurudi.
Maina,
Anne Maina,
Aina
take
Maina,
care of yourself.
shame on you, shame on you, shame on you. Nyinyi mlikuwa mnasema amjipaguigi, shame on you, get out here. I get tired
It's
with
okay,
this kind
Rhoda.
of shame on you, idiot people.
Thank you, Rhoda. Please take it easy. So Anne Maina, wajinga waliisha Kenya, inaonekana wewe ndio mjinga umerudi. Please peleka hiyo masuala yako kwa ofisi ya William Ruto. Yeye ndo anajua vile economy iliharibika. Uhuru Kenyatta sustained this economy in hard times, harder than now. We don't have COVID-19 like we had. We don't have famine to the extent that we had in 10 years. William Ruto is only 100 days. He has borrowed already $1 trillion. What is he going to do in 10 years? And you still sit here using your common sense to criticize what we are doing? You are not serious. You need to understand what is governance and what is the responsibility of a government. No government runs from responsibility and continues to function. So please, kama unajua UDA office, jaribu huko uambie kule ujinga huko. Hapa hautakubalika, na don't carry around my name, okay? I'm a preacher by divine calling, not by voting. So kura yako sihitaji, na ni mimi mhubiri tayari, so huwezi kuni uncall from preaching. Thank you.
Bernard,
Yes.
sorry, I wanted to finish, and those irrelevant people not want to comment on them. Let it pass. I want to still reiterate, as we are discussing, there are people telling us that it's too early to start questioning the performance of the president. The Prime Minister of UK was removed within 3 months purely on a policy issue. Purely on a policy issue, a decisions that they were making that made their country get from bad to worse in the economy. So the reason why certain developed countries do that is they arrest the situation before it goes bad. They don't wait for 5 years to go and cry that you did this and you did this. Immediately, things don't look right. They are able to arrest and address the situation head on. Having 3 prime ministers in a developed country within 1 year is not a small thing. And yet they are able to make those tough decisions. As Kenya, Bernard, we need to start looking at that as an example for us to make those tough decisions and not wait for even 6 months to recall a sitting president whose policies clearly shows that it's not working for the people. It is working, and Bernard, purely on an integrity issue. When you say publicly you'll do this, this, and this, and you don't do it, that is a ground enough for you to leave office. Boris Prime Minister told people to stay in the house and not socialize, and he went and took drinks with his friends. He went against his own word. That was a ground enough to remove him from office, as small as it is. The time, Bernard, we shall raise the bar and hold our leaders to account on what they say, that is when this country, Bernard, will get right. But when people just casually say things, they tell us in 100 days we shall do this, and they come in and they tell us, give us time, stop making noise at us, almost even insulting us and questioning why we are asking them. That is the arrogancy that I'm seeing that is very disturbing, Bernard, and we shall have to address it as early as this. Thank you.
Okay, asante sana Bwana Mike. We appreciate that. Let's keep the focus, please. It is important that we begin to look at the situation in the country as it is and not as we wish it to be. We can only find the way forward when we accept where we are. But if we keep pretending and burying the head in the sand and say everything will sort itself out, then we will be in for a rude shock. Because when things begin to go astray and they are not addressed in good time, it becomes too late. And when it's too late, we'll have more casualties. So, Kenyans of goodwill, the earlier we begin to see things for what they are and begin to judge them rightly, the better. From where I sit, if you ask me, from everything William Ruto has said since he assumed office, whether he really knows this country and he knows what to do to fix this country, he has never convinced me. If you are able to convince me that he knows what he's doing and he can start this country into a different direction that is better than where Uhuru Kenyatta did and the previous government that wherever functioned, please, I'll be willing to be convinced. I'll be willing to be educated. But if you assume office and the first thing you do is do away with subsidies, make life unbearable, and then continue to pretend as if nothing has happened, and now you have established an economy that has never existed in any part of the world, an economy driven by taxes. Hey, I've not had that economy anywhere. Kutoka kwa William Ruto ndio nimesikia. So kama kuna economy driven by taxes, hata colonial masters were not having economy driven by taxes. Hii ya William Ruto ni hatari sana, but all the same, we'll continue giving a benefit of doubt, lakini tafadhali tusijaribu kukaa na tuseme mambo itajisort. Hakuna mambo inajisort, tutayasort, na kama mbaya ni mbaya, tukubali mbaya ni mbaya, tufanye yale tunahitaji kurekebisha makosa ambayo yapo. Asante sana kila mmoja, tuendelee kukaribishana. Nashukuru wote ambao mnaendelea kukaribishana. Share that link with everybody in your WhatsApp groups, in your Facebook groups and other platforms. Unfortunately, we are still not able to go on live on our Facebook profile as Mutembei TV. And so those of you who follow us from there, please switch to YouTube or Mutembei TV page. That's when you will be able to get us on Facebook. And those of you following us on Twitter, it is not possible for you to join the discussion from Twitter because it is not accepting to get the link shared on their comments section. And so if you want to join into the discourse, you join either via YouTube or via Facebook page. That's where we are sharing that particular link you use to get into the studio. Asante sana, tuendelee kujumika pamoja tunapofundishana, elekezana, shauriana na kujihami kwa sababu ya nchi yetu. Karibu, uprising begins. Habari ya leo?
Mzuri Bernard. Happy New Year. Habari umeruka mwaka. I never thought utaweza utaruka.
Mimi nimeruka kwa jina la Yesu.
Yesu ni Bwana basi. Jesus is Lord.
Amin,
Unajua
amin.
kama Yesu unajua 365 days si mchezo. Kuepuka mashida ya shetani, kuepuka nini accident, ugonjwa, kuepuka kitu tu kuepuka ni Ruto. Lakini tutaomba Mungu tu kwa sababu walifanya kile walifanya, na we have to deal with it, but I'm happy that tuliweza kuruka mwaka. I say hi to the panelists. Kuna madam amekukasirisha hapa anaitwa Ann Maina. Watu kama hao don't even defend yourself. They are ashamed. Na ndio sababu unaonanga they cannot come to the panel, because how do you defend a thief? How do you defend thieves? How do you defend corruption? How do you defend the high cost of living? How do you defend lackness and blindness? It is difficult. Wewe unaona kama kuna mtu ya UDA hapa, they are ashamed by giving such a person. They only, we know that he needed some significant kind of votes so that he tops up with the stealing ones. But I can tell you for free, hustlers today are suffering more than anybody else in this country. Sijui kama mnanipata? It's unbearable to be in Kenya today. And particularly from the region I come from, Mount Kenya. I think now, in the next 5 years, hii story wanatuambianga hao ni businessmen. They will not be businessmen and women in Kenya. They cannot even compete with our friends from Somalia. I'm happy today to report that Somalia have taken over the restaurant industry, and they are very efficient. They have taken over the cloth industry. Ukienda Isiri unapata trouser ya 500. Kikuyu watapata wapi hiyo kitu? So we are happy that the government is supporting very honest people. Even petrol stations wamechukua. Even Nairobi CBD wamechukua. So as we speak, we are speaking of what we know, thinking that they will be helped. Nobody will help them. We are telling the Somali people who are our friend, who they are doing business with a lot of honesty, take over Kenya. Ingia kwa kulima sasa, ingia kwa matatu, ndio na mkondisha wa nyumba, so that at the end of the day, hii story tunaambianga businessman sijui reducible minimum kosho mingi, ambayo story hazieleweki, ambazo zinafanya mtu anadharau kabila ingine so much mpaka anauza nchi yake, iishe. Must go, because surely, my friends, this country belongs to each and every person. Ukiuliza 8 out of 10 Kikuyus why they hate Raila, ni mchawi, unajua tuliambiwa, tulifanywa, unajua sasa mchawi hajatahiri, unajua nini, kosho. Sasa tuko wapi? Hadithi mingi ambazo zinafanya nchi inaharibika, mpaka tunainua watu ambao hawana tabia, watu ambao ni mikora. Kila siku hapa ni kutudanganya in 3 months, unajua mnipatie mwaka, mnipatie miezi 3. Miezi 3 ya nini? Hata huyo Mumbi anakuambia ati economy iliharibika. Kuna economy ilikuwa imeharibika kuliko ile ya Moi. Kibaki alianza kutuambia unajua nimekuja na ndege ya Air Force One, but mnipatie muda, nimeenda na nini. What kind of a country is this? How did we get here? Kwa sababu mtu anaenda na Air Force One na akona jeshi na akona chakula, akitaka kuku choma iko ready, akitaka kuku boiro iko ready, akitaka kuku ambayo iko grilled it's ready. Sisi tugojee sasa, sisi hasla tugojee mwaka moja, si tutakuwa tumekufa? NHIF ndio hiyo, my friend, imeisha. Hata polisi saa hii wameambiwa ile mlikuwa mnapewa cover hakuna, na tulipatiwa hadithi, so many short stories, tukaambiwa mara Biblia ikiwekwa chini ama kando, hii itafanyika. Tukaambiwa before December this year tutakuwa na universal health. Hadithi. Hata mimi najiulizanga, Bernard, hawa watu kama tutafika 2027, of which na doubt, kwa sababu ya ile machungu hasara watakuwa nayo, utaenda kukampeni na majina gani? Utasema ni bottom up, utasema ni hasra, utasema ni dynasty, utasema ni handshake. What are you going to talk about? Because you promised everything, you exhausted everything. You told the people that immediately we ring a bell, we go to church, we do this, we'll have a good life. Then what are we experimenting? So by and large, my friends, we are in a big hole. Na kujitoa kwa shimo kama Wakenya ni kushikana mikono na kuinuka, rising up, na kuuliza maswali ambayo ni pertinent. Haijalishi utakuwa threatened namna gani, haijalishi ni nani. Unajua hata hao polisi watatumwa kwako, hata hao wanateseka kama sisi, because kwanza wanakatwa pesa by force. Civil servants are being deducted money by force. You think they are happy? Yeah? You think ati watu wanakuwa transferred whatever they want? You know, we are living in the dark days. We are living in a time where you won't desire to be. Hata ukienda nchi ingine unauliza where are you from, unasema tu Africa. Hautaki mambo ya Kenya sana, because Kenya, unasema Kenya nini wewe? Hmm? Is it the Kenya that appointed 6 judges and 3 of them had a case of their cashers, the people who had actually been hidden by Kenya? Is it that Kenya you're talking about? Is it the Kenya that one school has over 50,000, one class in a primary school has over 70 kids? Is it that Kenya? Yeah? Is it that Kenya that you cannot give the elderly, less than 300,000 people, just something kidogo to raise up their life? Is it that Kenya? That I cannot say it. I will say I'm from Africa because they will see my skin, but I will not tell them their country because I'm ashamed, for lack of a better word. There is nothing to smile about today. When you look at the state of our hospitals, nothing to smile about. When you walk in the streets of Nairobi, thank you for giving us a governor who has dimples. That is the only thing we have in Nairobi today. But the streets are very dirty. There is no water. Nothing to smile about when you walk in Nairobi. When you look at the state of our schools today, there is nothing to smile about, my friends. Yeah, we are getting to a point whereby even taking people to school will be an elitist. Yeah, if you are not a rich person in this country, hautakuwa unaweza kusomesha shule watoto shule. Why? Because we have just, in fact, let me put it this way, we have destroyed the future of these children within one vote, one voting day. Yeah, and we have decided that that is the way it's supposed to be. I was telling people here that if really indeed Kenya has to change, then we have to get out of the yoke of KANU, because I would like to believe, and I am a very good supporter of Uhuru Kenyatta tukuwa na Roda. I believe Uhuru Kenyatta was a very honest person, but I also believe that there was a code. I also believe that KANU has always had a plan for this country, because at one point, me, I'm old enough to know that Moi told us, and I thought it was a joke, yeah, that KANU will rule for the next 100 years. So mimi nikafikiri hiyo ni hadithi za Abunwasi. Unajua mzee alikuwa amezeeka, pengine akili ilikuwa imeanza kuwa na what we call dementia, kumbuki. But nimekuja kurealize it is true, because KANU led us for 24 years in the name of KANU, and then it led us for 10 years in the name of NAK. Yes, but that was a very good KANU. You know, there is a good KANU and a bad KANU. And then another KANU led us with the name of TNA and Jubilee. Now we are in another KANU called UDA and Kenya Kwanza. Maybe if they manage to control the gullible people like Anne who are telling us how the economy was messed, that the economy was messed, and there are people who made 4 billion like Musalia Mudavadi. I don't know how the economy was messed, and therefore we are in a problem, and we need to find a solution of disconnecting ourselves from KANU to get a person who has never been in that program. Because Uhuru might have loved us so much and might have loved to give Kenya to a better person. But I also think he would have not loved to give anybody outside KANU, whether it's a bad or good KANU. So to them, they won. They won. They won. How do you dupe a whole country? How do you dupe a whole country? Professionals, business people, teachers. How do you dupe? You know, I was watching another program, and I wish all of you can go and watch. It's on YouTube. Just go and type $1 trillion conman. If you watch that documentary, it's a BBC documentary. This is a person who had nothing and went to England and bought a club. He had nothing and he went to North Korea and actually convinced the government that he had been sent from the States. He became so rich to a point that his money was in $1 trillion. He actually bought a whole island for himself. What is the situation we are in? We have been conned, brothers. We have been conned. $1 trillion conman. So when you go and watch that documentary, there is one the interview. The person who doing the documentary went and asked, like the club they had bought in the UK, when did you realize you are conned? How did you realize you are conned? He said that I realized something was very wrong when I was in the office